Okay, now, without wasting too much time, we're going to do a quick segment on how to do a brass breech, and I might include this in the Night Attack video as well as on its own, so that it's a useful tool for those who actually want to just click and watch something for a few minutes and get the information they need. But what you're needing to do is to create, well, a trumpeted, by that it's flared out, for, again, easy feeding of the darts, even if they hit it at an angle. Allows it to stop from cutting, and I always bevel the edge using the tool that's actually on the front of my pipe cutter. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a stock breech and convert it to some people call it a lazy breech. I'm going to call it the simple breech. But we're going to do a simple brass breech. Now, very simple. This one's pre-cut and ready to go, but we're going to do it because I will use it in the future anyways. Now, before you go and grab your brass and cut away and do everything, you do need one of these to do a good clean job. So have one of those at your disposal. But what we're going to do is, first off, we're going to remove the air restrictor. Reach over here with a flathead screwdriver. You can very easily go in through the back of your plunger tube, and on Busby blasters, you can pry apart the supports for the air restrictor. Just in and twist. That's all you gotta do. There's a little gap. There's three little gaps that go around, and then you just go in and twist, and it will pry the post off, like so. There's the air restrictor spring and the little support cap. Okay, didn't quite get everything, so it's not coming out cleanly, so we'll go through the front as well. Got to punch out the supports. Okay, that's everything except for the actual little air restrictor itself. It is stuck in there, but we've got spring. I haven't really found a good use for those, but spring and dart post and everything else has popped out. We'll set it over there. Set all that over here. And now, what you need to do a proper job is a 17/32 drill bit. And what we're going to do at first, if you're going to do this free-handed and don't have access to a drill press, which I would recommend if you have it, you're going to reverse your drill bit. Yes, that's right. You're going to reverse your drill bit, because you do not want it to snag and end up gripping so much that it throws this off. Now you can also use a slightly smaller bit. If you go to 18/32, that's too big. 16/32 is exactly a half. You could do that, but I have a 17/32, and all I do to make this work properly is I'll feed it in with it reversed, and going little bit by little bit is better than trying to take it all at once. So that's what I'm going to do. Take pauses, allow the plastic to cool, because going in reverse works with a lot of friction, and it will actually cause the plastic to heat up and start melting. And you don't want that, because you could warp the breech, and we want it to stay very, very consistent, accurately and straight. We don't want to have any misalignment in it. But we're going to go ahead, keep going. Out it popped. Got enough of it cleaned up to do that. Now we're going to go back in and clean up the front some more. As you can see, that is both drilled and melted. So it did a little bit of both. We'll go do that a little bit more. Now there's not a whole lot of resistance. I'm going to flick my drill over to forward, and now we're going to actually finish drilling this out so that the brass can be placed in there. Okay, and there we are with a nice clean view all the way through. And now you can actually brass this. I'll touch it up a little bit more real quick. And that's that. Okay, so our work on the stock breech is done to modify it to accept the brass. And what you're going to do, if you're going to cut a fresh piece, again, you find where the dart would go in and stop. And you're going to have about that much dart exposed. So that's how much brass that you need at minimum. All you do is you take that dart and you need to make it at least about the length of the dart. So if I were going to cut it, you then take this dart, if you want to, mark your brass. Okay, that's a bit behind the dart and a bit in front, so that would be more than enough length to actually go and feed back into the dead space back here. And with that, you would then take this tubing cutter or pipe cutter, place it on, line it up with your mark, and I guess it's time to get rid of my packaging and only leave it on to protect. But then you would go like this, double check my marks there, double check that. We will go ahead and cut this because I'll use it in a future project. You go around and around and around, and you tighten the handle as you go. Okay, that is done. Set that aside in my little toolbox. Now, you take one of the ends. This gets crimped and folded in as you are cutting it, because it's kind of a squeeze and a cut all at the same time. But you take one end. I normally look at whichever end doesn't look as clean, and I leave it alone. But then you take the angled portion here, or for those of you who don't have that, needle nose pliers you can shove in because they have a angled out, and this is actually what I do in the end, but you want to trumpet flare it out, make it look like a brass horn. But I will go around. This actually puts a bevel into it, so it helps give it a nice edge that's not going to cut into the darts. I go around this a number of times until I see a clean bevel cut into it. You can do it with other things. A Dremel bit does it, but that tool there gives a nice clean bevel that you can see there just by the shininess. Then I use this pair of needle nose, place it in there, spin it around. And the more you do it, the more flared it becomes. And all this does is help protect the darts, and it also helps the blaster feed smoother. But if you don't flare it and you just shove a piece of brass tubing in there with no bevel, no flare, no nothing, no angle cut into it, which is another technique people do, you will get chopped darts left and right. See, that one is flared out real nice. That will go in something else that I have. But I already had this one done, but now you see how to do it in real time. Set all these tools out of the way. And keep in mind, if you don't over drill it, you're going to be able to press this in. And keep in mind, I did bevel it, I did flare it, but there still is a little bit of a chance to slice yourself. So grab a screwdriver, turn it around, or a piece of wood would work as well. You want something that's soft enough to not damage the brass, but not going to get damaged itself. And then you just press this in a little bit more, maybe just a touch more, and voila! This breech is done. At first glance, looks stock until you see that little bit of shine there. And all that does is permit it to use, like this dart even has a chunk missing. All you have to do is now realize, instead of sealing on the back portion of the dart, this is sealing along the whole body of the dart. And even just a little pressure, I can get it to fling fairly nicely. And that's the biggest upgrade you can make to a Busby type blaster.